Hey everybody, how are you doing? This is Kirsten here, and you are watching or listening A Better Way with Kirsten Kimura podcast. If you are watching this on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button if you haven't done it yet, because that way you will get notifications every time that I post a new video, which typically happens twice a week, sometimes once a week. And if you're listening to it on Apple Podcast or Spotify, you can do the same there as well. And also on Apple Podcast, you can leave me a 5-star review rating and review. And this really helps me to get more people interested in this podcast. Your reviews and ratings really do matter. So if I have helped you in any way through this podcast, if you could do me this little favor, takes you half a second, half a minute maybe, then I would really, really appreciate it. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is how taking a holistic approach to your health and fitness will really make a big difference in your life. So, of course, this is mostly a fitness and nutrition podcast. We talk about these things a lot. But what I really want to do with this podcast more, and maybe you have noticed that this is what the previous last couple of episodes have been really about, is how can we take this more well-rounded approach to all of it and include also a more general well-being, which also means better mindset, healthier self-talk, more positive mindset. And what I really haven't touched yet, but I want to do in the future, is talking more about the emotional part of it too, how feeling your emotions and all that actually helps your health as well. So this is very important for me, that we are taking this well-rounded, more holistic approach to health and fitness and well-being in general. Because I feel like a lot of people in the fitness space are just focusing on the external. There's the body and how, what the fat percentage is like and how much muscle we have. Also, this is all really important and really great. But also, in order to feel really good as a whole, right, we need to look at the other aspects of our health too. So this is what I'm hoping to do with this podcast. Now, what we're going to talk about today is one of my recent clients' email and some comments or some experiences that she wrote me about. And I want to read them to you with her permission, of course. I want to share them with you. And all this will really show you how we can put together certain aspects of ourselves, the physical, mental, emotional, in order to achieve what I just told you about, like overall better well-being. So this client actually worked with her for a very short amount of time because she didn't need like a detailed nutrition advice and help. She didn't need that a lot. She needed a little bit, and it ended up being a very important part of her healing. But she also needed the other aspects. She needed to calm down. She needed to reduce her anxiety. And as a result, she started sleeping better. She started to feel a lot more empowered. And overall, she's feeling so much better right now. So I'm going to read you her email, parts of it at least, and then I will comment on these things, okay? So she says, "Hey, Gersten, I just wanted to give you an update. Basically, since Christmas, I've been sleeping better than I have in years, and I don't seem to need to eat to get back to sleep at night." Okay, so give you a little bit of background. She used to have really bad insomnia, so this was really bad. And she always felt like she needs to eat something before she goes to bed. So she had formed this association almost. I gotta eat in order to go to bed, like right before bed, which is, it's not a bad thing. It's nothing that you absolutely should avoid, although some people will tell you that you do. I don't think you need to avoid it completely, but she had created this association that if I don't eat granola before bed, granola and milk was her thing, then I just can't sleep. And sometimes when she would try, she would still get up eventually, go eat, and then, it's basically, then she was able to go to sleep. So basically it was her brain that had really made this connection that this needs to happen. And so insomnia was one of her bigger problems. And before we even talk about nutritional part and what we did with that, I want to tackle that insomnia first, because this is really so important. And I think even more important in this case than everything else was. So, like I mentioned in episode 285, sometimes the typical advice for getting better sleep may not apply to all people. And what I mean by that is that the usual recommendations: go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time, take magnesium, put on calming music, use only candlelight, blah, 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 on and on we go. Put lavender under your pillow. I don't know what else. So people think that they have to do all of these things and they get obsessed. They start doing all of these things and the shit's not still working. They still wake up or they don't fall asleep or they still have a lot of trouble with it. So what's the solution? So in episode 285, I talked about this guy whose name is Martin Reed. He's insomnia coach on YouTube and he has a really good podcast on Spotify as well. And I'm not familiar with all of his work, but I just learned bits and pieces from it. And I took what I thought was most useful, started to apply. And in episode 285, you can hear what happened. Positive things happened. So I introduced this woman, his work as well. And she started also taking some of his advice, right? And she says, now, it's like I've remembered how good sleep is. And sometimes I'm getting 10 hours or so, only waking up once. It's amazing and long in may continue. I wanted to say thanks, and I am really pleased with this outcome. No, not worrying about sleep is amazing. So when I asked her what she did, she said she stopped following all these rules. She started going to bed when she was tired, not when it was like perfect time, quote unquote, perfect time to go to sleep. She took a lot more relaxed approach to it. She stopped thinking about, oh my goodness, is this going to be another night of really crappy sleep? She stopped that. She stopped being like, okay, if insomnia is here, then it's here. And a lot of times letting go of that pressure, letting go of that expectation, and definitely perfectionism is what gives you the result that you want to get. And with sleep, for some people, it's really, really obvious. This is what happens. Now, of course, I want to say, if you are somebody who needs a strict bedtime routine and it works for you, don't go change anything about it, right? So we're not going to fix what's not broken. Why would you do that? So don't stop messing with it. If things are fine, don't go like, oh my God, this guy on YouTube and now this Gersten too, they're telling me to, screw all the rules, but I really like putting lavender under my pillow. Keep doing it. You can do all these things, whatever works for you, right? But I'm saying that if you're somebody who's already like trying all the things, and you may also notice that this person, and again, that's myself too, tends to be more anxious because of like how's the sleep going to work out, or in general has more anxiety, then for these people, adding more stress may not actually serve them. So you can see that in her case, it really worked well for her. I mean, she's getting 10 hours of sleep. I wish I could get that much. So I improved my sleep a lot, but I'm not sleeping 10 hours. So it made me so happy to read this. Okay. Now, the next thing that we talked about was nutrition. So the nutrition part was good in the sense that she was already eating a good amount of calories. So, she was eating like 23 to 2600, I believe, which is a really good place to be for a woman. And unfortunately, this is not something that I see very often in my coaching, but I see way more of is like people are hardly reaching 2000 calories even, right? On maintenance. I think most women should be able to maintain around 2000. But so she didn't have the calorie problem per se, right? But her problem was that protein was really low. And this is not a surprise, I think, to many people who already know a lot about macros and have really experienced how much protein can really help them. But her protein was definitely on the lower side. So she was eating very high carbohydrates, very high, because you remember like 2,500 calories or so and low protein. So the rest has to come from somewhere. And then she was eating super high carbs. So we started to increase her protein, and she really felt better. She felt a lot better. She says, I'm feeling strong and my climbing ability is a lot more like it used to be. So her main thing is climbing. She does a little bit of resistance training, but it's mostly climbing, and she plays some soccer too. So my climbing ability is a lot more like it used to be. So she also says, yeah, I can add some weights here and there. And she also noticed body composition change from that protein addition. And I know that also from better sleep. So she says, my weight has stopped going down, but my waist measurements are on the downward trajectory. Mostly I wanted to say goodbye to the cellulite look on my torso, and that has gone. So I'm feeling much better about my figure. So I truly believe that the body composition change that she experienced without cutting calories, well, maybe the calories went down a little bit because she increased protein. I'm not sure. Like I said, she didn't actually need detailed tracking. She only needed to really track her protein. And, there's layers. I do that with many of my clients. Some people don't need to track everything, but they need to track one thing, or they're not ready to track everything. They're ready to start with one. So there's different layers to it. But her protein really made a big difference for her. So these two things, and what I really want to read to you right now, this is super important, and I need you to understand this. If you are constantly stressed out, then things are so much harder. And if you're constantly anxious and on high alert, things are harder, right? So I'm going to read this. Um, I think the all around food has helped to boost my fitness and strength. And it's like I may be working out now without putting my body into a state of stress and high cortisol. I just feel when my body's tired, instead I'm feeling it over awake. Okay, so this is so important. I think eating more of the right foods and lots more protein has helped wonders with this. I also wonder if now my body just trusts that I'm going to feel it right. Okay, so what I really want to emphasize from this piece here is that she says, I'm feeling when I'm tired, I don't feel like this body awakeness all the time. And this is so important. So if you're somebody who's, again, slightly anxious or highly anxious, and you feel like you never feel like true body tiredness, that's because you are running on stress hormones and they are blocking your ability to feel that tiredness. So when you start now feeling, you can start sensing when your body is actually tired and you listen to it, that's a really good thing. I remember years ago, that was before I had, no, that was right after I had recovered from hypothalamic amenorrhea. My boss at the old gym that I used to work at, he used to ask me, how were you able to work out so much when you had AHA? How didn't you ever get tired? But that's the thing, I was running on stress hormones. So if you're running on stress hormones, you almost don't feel tired, or you feel very tired and very wired. And you don't have this feeling of like, I need deep rest. And so this is what she's telling me right now. She's starting to feel that, right? She's not over awake. She's not like hyper here all the time anymore. She's sensing when she's tired. And this is a great thing. I want you all to get there if you're not there right now. And this is something that I have worked on myself a long time too. And once you get it, at the it's so funny. Like at the beginning, it can almost be even like scary. I remember when I started to feel this, when I started to like sleep in longer in the morning, and I was like, oh, I don't want to get up just yet. Versus before, I had been like, all right, we're up, we're going. Like it was like this really anxious wake up always for me. But then I started being like, oh, kind of slowly getting up. Let's stretch a little bit. Oh, let's stay in bed for a little longer. When I started feeling this way, I would tell Hugh, my husband, like, is something wrong with me? Am I sick? What is going on? And he's laughing. He's like, dude, like you're finally sleeping. You've always wanted to. Now you're thinking you have a next problem. So clear example of like highly anxious mind, right? I had that. So that's why I know this so well. So it's when you start to feel that this exhausted, like good, tired feeling, not tired and wired, but actually tired and like letting yourself be and rest. This is when you know that you're truly recovering. And this is what happened to this woman as well. And then the last piece that I want to mention today is the emotional work. Okay, so something that you can look forward to hearing more about because I'm getting into this more and more, and I'm seeing more and more how emotional health impacts your physical health as well. So when I started working with her, I could tell that she needs this type of work as well. And it was obvious because of some of the things that she told me. For example, she said she has a hard time standing up for herself. She she said when I asked her, "Do you ever get like angry?" She's like, "No, I don't get angry," but I thought she does. She just doesn't recognize it. So, for example, there would be times where her boyfriend or in-laws wanted to do something, and she had already made her own plans, and now she couldn't tell that she doesn't want to change her plans and go do stuff with them. She wanted to do her own thing, but she couldn't say it. So there's like internal resentment and there is anger. This is where you feel anger. You just don't know it because maybe you're not used to expressing it. Or maybe you think that this is bad. Maybe you're a people pleaser. You think that I cannot express my emotions if it might possibly potentially upset somebody. So I better go and do what they tell me to do or they expect me to do. So you're never expressing yourself. And guess what that is? This is living out of your alignment. You're not aligned. You're not feeling good. You have this internal conflict. So this was just one example, but you can look around in your life and see where you are doing this. Maybe you don't, it's not like your boyfriend or in-laws, it's somewhere else with your kids or with your coworkers or whoever that might be, right? Who has like all these expectations and you just don't want to say no. You don't speak up. Then something that we started doing with her was starting to name our emotions. What is this thing that's coming up, right? So she says the emotional stuff also is helping me and driving down the stress, which affected my sleep as well. Of course it did. Yes. I'm still loving naming of emotions, getting them out, and practicing standing up for myself at any opportunity. Awesome. I love it. So naming, so this is known as name it to tame it. So if you have emotion, and like I said, you may not at first even know that you have this emotion, but when you start sensing it, like letting yourself feel these things, then you can name the emotion, right? Just name it, just picture it. I don't know, close your eyes and see the word in front of you, right? Anger or fear, or whatever. Then actually that will actually help you to release that emotion. You're going to feel better. It really does feel this way. Like you just feel lighter, but you have to go through this experience. Like name it to tame it, right? And that way you reduce that internal resentment. And also that way you become a better at standing up for yourself, saying what you need, saying what you want, what feels better to you, not going along with like what other people need necessarily always, but all that without being rude or mean, right? It doesn't mean that at all. So I really loved reading this email. I got this on Monday, and I already told her this literally made my week, although it's only Monday. But I feel like this, it really shows so well how putting together all these important pieces, um, including, you know, the physical health, but also mental and emotional health, they can really make a big difference in who you are and how you feel. And what she experienced is literally like wins, like all around, right? There's nothing that is kind of like, yeah, that wasn't important. Like she said, I'm sleeping so much better, 10 hours. My cellulite on my torso is gone. You know, my climbing is so much better again. And, you know, she sent me this update, even though she didn't have to do it. So it means that she's feeling really well. So I was super excited about it. I hope you are as excited as I was about it. And so if you have similar struggles, if you need some help, if you want to combine these areas of life, right? If it's not only like, okay, give me this one macro goal, which I can do, but if you're interested in looking deeper into like what else might be affecting your health and your physique results as well, definitely reach out. I would love to help you. I would love to talk to you and see if I could help you. All right. Thank you so much for watching or listening today, and I'll see you in the next episode. Take care.